The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Crime News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Crime News Talk. Today is September 22nd, 2025. We are live to tape on episode 878. And today, Jesus or some other guy. And razzle dazzle, I'm your best buddy Basil, and you are not crazy.
I think you might be crazy though, Basil. And my name is Gonz at Face Like the Sun, director of the Age of Deceit Films, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ, live to tape from the metaverse to bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. It is a Monday.
Gary, what day is it? Monday.
Okay.
Monday.
Starting the week again. Yeah, it feels like a kind of like almost a false start to the week. Not that there's nothing to talk about.
It's fall. Isn't it fall now?
Oh, that's what it is. It's fall. Yes, it was just the fall equinox. Well, one of several very interesting alignments over the weekend. We'll get into that. But it did come to my attention, Gonz, as we are drawing near to September 19th, thought it might be a good time to bring back to our attention, just so we see it coming, or just so we have it to, keep our eyes peeled for something coming up. September 29th, 2024 was the day that Donald Trump posted the St. Michael Prayer on his X account, which is kind of weird, bringing up these things again, because for some reason, and I'm not even saying it didn't belong there, but for some reason, this was like a huge news story when he posted the St. Michael Prayer on September 19th, 2024. I guess this was coming up on the way to the election, a few months after the assassination attempt. And right here, September 29th, 2024, St. Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle, be our defense against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly hosts, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowl about the world seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. Now, this was a very interesting checkpoint or high water mark in the conversation, as we like to track as often as possible, the conversation around Christian nationalism and Christianity becoming sort of the primary identifier for so many more people. Of course, there's a conversation about the revival or the interest in Christianity, or the at least respect for Christian morals and ethics, mostly with the political right, but we're seeing it in different places as well. And this was one of those moments where we go, whoa, okay. I mean, he's not really known for posting prayers or really anything theological. And if he does say something theological, it's kind of like from the book of Trump a little bit. It's a little extra biblical. He's
Although I think you're right that it did mark a high watermark, because since then, the White House account on X has been posting very explicit, you can call it Christian content.
Oh, every day. It's basically an everyday occurrence that pretty standard American evangelical Protestant theology is getting posted by the White House account or Trump. I would say more, it's kind of spread out between various politicians. But yeah, back last year, almost exactly 1 year ago, when Trump coming out and just cutting and pasting basically this Catholic prayer. An interesting thing noted last year was that the St. Michael Prayer, just to jump over to the wiki here, was created, I guess, invented, written by Pope Leo the 13th. And of course, we're on Yes, the current Pope is Pope
That,
Leo XIV, who explicitly
right.
took his name from Pope Leo XIII. And so, in 2024, do you remember if Pope Leo was Pope Leo September 29th last year? I'm trying to
Ooh,
figure out
that's a good one.
timeline.
I don't remember when the Pope passed away. This show makes my brain mush, to be honest with you, in terms of
Yeah.
when
Do
things
you wanna
happen.
do
Like time becomes so irrelevant just to what happened.
just do a quick little
But
Google. I'm assuming that Pope Leo had ascended the throne by then. If not, that would have been like a pretty crazy, I don't know, prediction by Donald Trump.
Pope passed away in April of this year, right?
No,
No, hold on.
no, it's not Pope passed away. We're talking about Pope Leo
Taking
become.
over.
Those are two.
Okay.
Those are
Oh, you're
different.
right. Okay.
But I believe that he had, because I'm trying to remember our reporting on it. Anyways, so there you go. We are exactly 1 week away from September
Sorry, I'm just finding it. Papacy began May 8th, 2025.
of this year.
Yeah.
I wonder if what are they called? The candidates had been announced. Like, did
Yeah.
Donald Trump know that? I mean, it is the American guy. It's the Chicagoan Pope.
Chicago.
So maybe
Yeah. I mean, maybe it was an endorsement,
right.
without saying it, it's an endorsement. Yeah.
We'd have to go back. We could go listen to our episode from September 29th last year and figure out what we said about it. But anyways, we're coming up on a week away from that. I think it's interesting because, of course, on this show and in our milieu, recognizing the spiritual warfare 24/7, especially in 2024, the assassination attempts, the this, the that, the election, all very obviously a spiritual warfare for those with ITC. And so for Trump to post the St. Michael prayer, just kind of this recognition of spiritual warfare, was, an interesting comment to be made by a presidential candidate.
Sitting president, or I guess candidate at the time.
Candidate.
Yeah, it's interesting also because culturally there are symbolic moments, of course, that did not go unnoticed by people of similar thought. This was Newsweek. Mr. Beast, this is last week? Yeah, about a week ago. Mr. Beast getting punched by Mike Tyson goes viral. And, people are having fun with it. Mr. Beast is there at I think, was this the Canelo fight or something? And this
is very, very smooth slipping this into the show, by the way.
Here's why I'm going to say it, because, of course, people were highlighting Michael, the Archangel Michael, punching the Beast in the stomach.
Mike Tyson, Archangel
Mike Tyson. Yes.
Mr. Beast. Okay, I see.
Yeah. So people were making that connection. They can't just not notice a Michael giving a nice little punch to the midsection of Mr. Beast, and the Beast goes to his knees, in terms of a cultural statement about, who's kind of quote unquote winning right now. So
yeah, it's interesting. We'll get into this. This is, by the way, there's a theme this show. But I do want to point out Ernest's YouTube chat here. Rapture, next 48 hours, 100%. As soon as the pen the paper for two-state solution, the Antichrist is revealed. Yes, there's lots of talk about, we'll get into the story, but some geopolitical stances on Palestine and some other things going on. There's a lot of rapture talk going on. I think September 23rd was predicted. I don't know. People have been talking about September 23rd for a while. But interesting things going on. We got to just get into it, Gons, because there was a story that started on last episode's show day. We didn't get to cover it. And I think very interestingly, again, in the heavenly realms, this story ends on the next show day. So speaking of spiritual warfare, let's talk about Jimmy Kimmel for 1 second.
Psyops.
We've just been psyoped into discussing Jimmy
Yes,
Kimmel.
we have. But I think there's a plan here. There's something bigger going on.
Something bigger always going on this show.
It drove me absolutely nuts. So I'm glad we actually just get to close this out and move on, because after basically between Wednesday and Sunday, Charlie Kirk's
was a
funeral.
party.
There was absolutely nothing anybody could possibly talk about except for Jimmy Kimmel getting kicked off the air. And I probably heard the Jimmy Kimmel clip and every bad take that you could possibly have over and over and over and over. Every single podcast covered it. There are times when something happens just in our weird timing of the show where I go, oh no, it's in between show days. We're going to be late. Oh, at least we can. No, I'm actually thinking we've been graced by God that we didn't have to get deep into the Jimmy Kimmel conversation. But CNN here reporting ABC yanks Jimmy Kimmel's show indefinitely after threat from Trump's FCC chair. Blah, blah, blah. We all had to suffer through the culture war of the left saying freedom of speech is getting taken away. The fascists are winning. Yeah. Jimmy Kimmel was taken down for his free speech, and Charlie Kirk was a racist.
What are you, a Democrat? You're starting to sound like a Democrat.
Oh, jeez.
You just sound like a Democrat right now, complaining about all the people on the moral high ground of this particular situation. And,
and the point of the Jimmy Kimmel thing, the only thing that I thought was sort of spiritually interesting was the flippening, the turning of the sort of political identities on their heads. And again, I even said on Canary Cry Clubhouse on Thursday, I heard Jimmy Kimmel, lost his job. Hooray. Good. I'm glad. That's great. I don't care. I don't care about him.
I don't psyoped into. Well, that's the interesting thing. We were talking about this a little bit before the show, but it's this moment where there is a moral high ground, like an objective moral high ground that is easy for everyone to take. And so, of course, in the sense of logic and objectively looking at the whole situation of everything that's happened, it's like, yeah, of course. I mean, this is no big deal. Obviously, the show was struggling, right, monetarily. So
hold on. Let's get it. Well, let me just give you a review here. But unfortunately, we all get to blame Sir Darren, Night of the Hungry Panda. I put the clip in the document, and I said, probably won't need to play the clip because everybody's heard it. Sir Darren says, I didn't see the clip. Let's play the clip real quick because the clip is actually important to understand the annoying aspect of this whole conversation because, of course, the clip has two comments. One that was the actual problematic comment, and it was problematic because it was a lie. It was an example of the mainstream media's ability to lie against basic, known, broadly recognized facts about the world. They can just say the opposite as if it were true, and then say some sort of weird Trump culture war thing. And then when the world goes, hey, you can't just pretend reality doesn't exist. You need to, at least live in the same universe as us. Then the left goes, well, it's just because you made fun of Trump. Let's play the clip real quick. It's 45 seconds.
Over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
Okay, so obvious, the left, Jimmy Kimmel, all the celebrities, all the politicians said, you can't kick Jimmy Kimmel off the air for making fun of Trump. Obviously not the problem here. The problem was coming out and basically straight up, the worst kind of truth, the technical truth. Technically, you can say he implied that Republicans were trying their hardest to pretend that he wasn't MAGA. When the reality was, at the time of this clip, we knew exactly who it was. We knew exactly what his beliefs were. We had the text messages. Everybody knew what the deal was. And, at a moment like that, I know it can be hard to remember all the way to last week, but at that exact moment when the Charlie Kirk assassins' whole deal was known entirely, well, at least the official story had been laid out, whether it is or it isn't the actual truth, we may never know. But to come out and say, yeah, he was a MAGA guy, a dangerous thing to inflame the situation even more for basically no reason. It wasn't even really a joke. It wasn't funny. You can't come out and say he made a funny joke. Comedy should be protected. It wasn't a joke. He just says, yeah, the guy was a MAGA guy. And also here's a clip of Trump. Now, we can go all the way around and just end this story because right now, 5 minutes before we start the show.
Breaking news!
Breaking news. The Hollywood Reporter headlined Jimmy Kimmel to return to ABC on Tuesday after show's controversial suspension. The ABC late night host is returning to broadcast on Tuesday following a brief but monumental suspension that sparked a national debate over the Trump administration's pressure tactics and the modern limits and consequences of free speech. This whole, it's just a beautiful sort of manufactured conversation. Quote, last Wednesday, we made the decision to suspend production on the show to avoid further inflaming a tense situation at an emotional moment for our country, ABC parent, the Walt Disney Company, said in a statement Monday. It is a decision we made because we felt some of the comments were ill-timed and thus insensitive. Not true or total lie and unfunny, just ill-timed and insensitive. We have spent the last days having thoughtful conversations with Jimmy, and after those conversations, we reached the decision to return the show on Tuesday. So thoughtful. The move follows. Now, I'll actually give at least the Hollywood Reporter credit for this. Having lived through the annoyance of the psyop that was the Jimmy Kimmel, conversation, First Amendment conversation, I'll give him a little bit credit for this. The Hollywood Reporter says here, the move follows an extraordinary week in the media that kicked off with Jimmy Kimmel making a somewhat vaguely worded on-air comment on Monday about Charlie Kirk's assassin that could easily be read as suggesting the suspect was a MAGA conservative. Vaguely, I love how they didn't even call it a joke. The whole conversation was like, you can't censor comedians for being funny. It's like, well, it wasn't funny. It wasn't a joke.
Right. They even put the nail in the coffin, despite evidence to the contrary, which that part surprises me.
As reported, it was not a joke. It was a vaguely worded on-air comment on Monday about Charlie Kirk's assassin that could easily be read as suggesting the suspect was a MAGA conservative, despite initial evidence to the contrary, recognizing that the evidence was out that, completely made his comment as inflammatory as it was. The quote went viral, sparking plenty of online backlash. Sparking guns. Then it goes into, we don't need to tell the whole story. It wasn't actually, the biggest thing was that the affiliate, the broadcasters, actual broadcast companies, not Walt Disney, not Kimmel, not ABC, didn't like the comment and were refusing to air Jimmy Kimmel, which they're allowed to do. They do it all the time with various live broadcasts. These are the over-the-air broadcast companies, which are licensed by the government. And part of their licensing is that they are, do their work in the public interest. This is not cable. This is not satellite. This is not internet. This is actual wavelengths in the air, which is considered a public utility. So the government does control it. Anyways, now, Behind the scenes, sources say Kimmel wasn't planning to apologize on Wednesday's show, instead was going to defend his original comments as being taken out of context and grossly mischaracterized by MAGA, which Disney brass thought would only inflame the situation. Yes, I think they're very smart about that. Despite Kimmel's return, it is not immediately clear if he will be available across the entire country. Sinclair, for its part, had said that it would not go back to running Kimmel's show on its stations until the late night host apologized for his comments, met with Sinclair representatives, and made a donation to the Turning Point, the organization that Kirk founded. Sinclair, it should be noted, owns the ABC station in the Washington, D.C. metro area, among other markets. And this is where the business of television gets a little complicated, and where a lot of the actual important bits of this controversy got lost, because Sinclair and what's the other one? Star something. I just read it. Sinclair, so there's a Kimmel show. Nexstar, thank you. So Sinclair and Nexstar are the actual companies that own the broadcast channels, the broadcast stations. ABC just creates content, but these other companies have the choice to broadcast that content or not. So Kirk
they control the spigot.
Yeah, so they can start making the show again, but without Sinclair and Nexstar actually agreeing to air the show, then it'll just be like an online show, or maybe on like ABC cable channel or satellite channel. But Sinclair and Nexstar are the ones who make the final decision on what actually gets broadcast or not. So we'll see what happens. They said they're not going to do it unless he apologizes, and so far he's not volunteering to apologize. But there you go. There will at least be humans in the Kimmel studio tomorrow making a show. Whether or not it gets broadcast remains to be seen. And
so is what happens to all the people that were celebrating this? Do they get the win? Is this a consolation prize? Like what is it now? Because it feels like they got juked out. It feels
they
like
did get a little juked out, but I think the psyop of it all was very effective, making it about not the comment that it was actually about, calling it free speech, calling it a joke, this kind of stuff. Of course, they had a petition. They had 150,000 people sign a petition, which, what does that even mean? Okay, you had 150 bot farms put fake names on a petition or something. But there's just power plays. It doesn't, I don't know. It's not the biggest deal, but I'm glad it's wrapped up so we can go on to what's actually going on.
It does. Yeah, I was going to say that it is commentary on maybe the lack of relevance that this mainstream is still culturally relevant, obviously the airtime of, big stations. But if the show technically survives on sort of an only online type of basis, at least for a little bit, but they're in certain regions, depending on the region, it's not going to be broadcast to their local TV or whatever. I mean, it's just a commentary on the weakening of those mainstream outlets, isn't it? And how you can survive as a show big enough if you just go online, and a show as big as Jimmy Kimmel at least can survive at some level independently, I would imagine.
Yeah, well, to a
little bit. To a degree. I mean, they're so culturally on the other side of it, maybe not. But
so during this whole thing, the numbers came out. Jimmy Kimmel, the Jimmy Kimmel show is losing ABC $40 million a year. They're at a
only $40 million? Okay.
$40 million.
Not too bad. I mean,
Yeah. And during this, their numbers came out. They're only getting 129,000 views in the key demographic, which is maybe like 1/10 of a show like Michael Knowles or Tim Pool or something like that.
Ouch.
So, but they have 100 writers and 1,000 production people. It's crazy. And part of the reason I think why it will survive, or at least there's so much fight for it to survive, is mainly for economics, just keeping people employed.
Until the robots come in and really take over, they're going to hold on for dear life, I would imagine. I think that's happening to the whole of society, by the way. I don't think it's just ABC and the Jimmy Kimmel show to a sense. I think over time, as we've tracked, Basil, with the robot stuff, is going to affect all of us in that way. But yeah, I think you're right in terms of this situation.
Yeah, so who knows? So there you go. Now, this spectacle, we will pay attention to the timing, because today is the fall equinox, and we have changed directions in the seasons. The days will start getting shorter, the nights will start getting longer, Gons, and this comes a day after Charlie Kirk's memorial. The event of the century, Gons, was Charlie Kirk's memorial yesterday on Sunday. So, such a large event and so important in so many different ways that it was even aired on C-SPAN, the sort of government broadcast organization that usually just sticks a camera in the halls of Congress and calls it a day. They even picked up the feed. Let's take this from NBC News, because this is a very interesting moment in at least modern history, and it's fun to see the mainstream media sort of pick up on a trend that has been in our sights for quite some time. NBC News has a headline here: Charlie Kirk's memorial serves as a conservative revival, mixing calls for forgiveness and vengeance.
Quite the hybrid there. That's the Nephilim mixture of forgiveness and vengeance. Might be volatile, very volatile.
Right off the bat, this headline is so interesting. You point one out, the forgiveness and vengeance, which we'll get into in a second, but also conservative revival. And in revival, they put in quotes, meaning revival. This has been called a revival, but conservative being of their own words. Now, as Christians, we think of revival as sort of a spiritual thing, a spiritual happening. But NBC News taking that word revival and applying it politically to the conservative sort of spectrum of politics. Charlie Kirk's memorial serves as a conservative revival, mixing calls for forgiveness and vengeance.
Yeah, I was going to mention if you were going to skip the subtitle of it, because they used another word that I think is very triggering with all of this, is the word martyr. It says Sunday's memorial service for the slain activist was also a faith-based argument for American conservatism, with many speakers calling Kirk a martyr, in quotes.
Yeah.
So there you
go. Well, and even that, a faith-based argument for American conservatism, and that's what it's going to boil all down to. I actually would love to start with playing their headline clip here, because it brings up some interesting points that I'd like to follow up with some other clips.
All right, let's give it a go.
Tonight, President Trump closing out a day of prayer and politics at the Arizona memorial service for assassinated conservative activist Charlie Kirk.
None of us will ever forget Charlie Kirk, and neither now will history.
The president's speech following remarks by members of his cabinet and inner circle, including an emotional Vice President J.D. Vance, who was close to the 31-year-old Kirk.
I have talked more about Jesus Christ in the past 2 weeks than I have my entire time in public life. And that is an undeniable legacy of the great Charlie Kirk.
God bless all of you.
Kirk's widow, Erika, who will succeed her husband as CEO of Turning Point, the conservative youth organization he founded, speaking emotionally about her husband.
But I will miss him. I will miss him so much, because our marriage and our family were beautiful. They still are.
Erika Kirk earlier saying she would not weigh in on whether the government should seek the death penalty for her husband's accused killer, telling the New York Times, quote, "I do not want that man's blood on my ledger." Earlier today, FBI Director Kash Patel posting a lengthy update on the investigation into alleged shooter Tyler Robinson, promising the FBI is, quote, "meticulously investigating theories and questions about the case, including some internet-fueled conspiracy theories." While back in Glendale, tens of thousands of attendees packed State Farm Stadium, home of the NFL's Arizona Cardinals, many lining up overnight to secure seats amid extensive security measures.
Oh, this is amazing. We love Charlie so much and all the work that he did in this country.
We're coming here to appreciate him and appreciate what he spoke for.
Okay.
Garrett is back.
Oh, sorry. I forgot I had a little.
There's more. There's more. You want more? You want more from
always
NBC?
More. Okay. So the headline talking about forgiveness and vengeance. Now, some of you may already notice something that I noticed watching that video, was that there was no mention of forgiveness or vengeance. You'd think that they would like to make a point about that and use the power of clipping a funeral out of context to, make a point that they want to make. But there is no mention of forgiveness nor vengeance. And one thing I thought was also very interesting was the mention of Kash Patel's tweet afterward.
Yeah,
it was almost completely out of context. I do want to read this tweet because I'll say this. What we're not going to do on this show until it seems like a fruitful thing to do is, again, dive headfirst into the meticulous rabbit holes, of which there are many, about Charlie Kirk's assassination, who did it, how'd they do it, is it 2 shooters, 3 shooters, a drone, the endless cacophony of, content, I guess. People got to make content. There's whole communities of people who are making content every day on the classic endless rabbit holes here.
Yeah, I was going to say, and it does become the example for free speech. And that's the one thing that it's almost like a necessity to have that stuff be part of public discourse, to sort of demonstrate it on a 24/7, 365 basis. Otherwise the practice of free speech in that way is not happening. So, it's you don't have to engage in it, but just understand what it is, So
it's an interesting take on it. Warfare Warrior 777 on Rumble says, what are some of the internet fueled conspiracies? I'm glad you asked, and we can hear it straight from Kash Patel.
Let me introduce him properly. The FBI here.
A lot of it's a hoax. It's a hoax. I mean, it's a money-making industry, okay?
Unindicted co-conspirators.
As the director of the FBI, I am committed to ensuring the investigation into Charlie Kirk's assassination is thorough and exhaustive, pursuing every lead to its conclusion. The full weight of America's law enforcement agencies are actively following the evidence that has emerged, but our efforts extend beyond initial findings. We are examining every facet of this assassination. We are meticulously investigating theories and questions, including the location from where the shot was taken, the possibility of accomplices, the text message confession and related conversations, Discord chats, the angle of the shot and bullet impact, how the weapon was transported, hand gestures observed as potential signals near Charlie at the time of his assassination, and visitors to the alleged shooter's residence in the hours and days leading up to September 10th, 2025. Some details are known today, while others are still being pursued to ensure every possibility is considered. Almost there. Our primary focus is to complete this investigation and deliver justice. To protect the integrity of the investigation and subsequent prosecution, we cannot release every piece of information we have to go to the public right now. We will ensure every question is addressed. Every question is addressed at the appropriate moment. There's a little more, but what was your comment, Guns?
I've kind of moved on now. My brain has moved on.
Even more. Regarding specific details, such as questions about the plane that allegedly turned off its transponder. after departing
Oh.
from an airport near the assassination site. We can share updates when answers are confirmed. After interviews with the pilot and the consultation with the FAA, we determined the transponder was not turned off. Incomplete flight data in rural areas caused the apparent gap. The entire FBI mourns the loss of Charlie Kirk. We'll not rest until justice is served, and our investigation into the assassination will continue until every question is answered. Every question that any crazy conspiracy theorist on the internet could possibly have, we are investigating at the FBI. He straight up lists like a bunch of the main.
That's what I kept forgetting and being reminded of was, oh yeah, this is the head of the FBI talking. You know, you get into this and you're like, oh yeah, okay, and you're like, wait a minute, this is the FBI actually listing all these things that, like, he's scrolling X as we are learning about this situation, you know, or investigating all the different things people are investigating. We live in a virtual panopticon. This is crazy.
Yeah, this interesting recognition that Kash Patel is aware of all of your conspiracy theories. He's saying to the internet, I hear you, I see your theories, and don't worry, we're looking into it. Now, whether he's actually looking into it, whether they know exactly what happened and they're just keeping the psyop going, you know, all this stuff is possible. But on the day of Charlie's funeral, he comes out, the FBI director of the United States of America comes out and poignantly goes through a list of conspiracy theory details and says, I hear you, we're looking into it. Which, I mean,
and we're not stopping till we answer them.
And we're gonna find
the chair conspiracy, the leg. I mean, there's so many.
And even the fact right there, you know, I don't know if I would use this word, but he might use this word, debunking or just releasing the evidence that they have about the plane. Now, there is the other plane. That's the thing, Gons. They want you looking at that one plane and not see the other plane dropping off the drones over the lake, but at least that one plane that was pointed out earlier. So, you know, as far as that, to me, is a signal of like, okay, I mean, of what we've already known forever, which is there is no secret conspiracy theory on the internet. They are aware of every theory that anybody is having, okay? They have all of it. They have all the data. They're listening to you. You're not having a private, secret conspiracy theory conversation looking at details that the FBI won't even look into. No, he says, we're aware of it all. Don't worry. We got you, which would be a great way to sort of perhaps release some people from being obsessed and or perhaps protecting these secrets, saying, don't worry, the government will look into it. No need to make a YouTube video about it, okay? Stop digging in. I don't know. It could go either way.
Probably a little bit of both. I mean, that's the thing. This is crowdsourcing and leveraging what the internet already does to the advantage of the FBI, which speaks to how a sentiment that we've expressed for a while, which is that everybody that's on the internet, if you're publishing something on the internet, you're participating at some level to the entire operative, whether it's helpful to the people that have power or not, you know, or maybe they allow counter sentiments to grow. And I'm sure that's been part of the experiment all along, the social experiment, that everything is, everything you say, everything that gets published has some kind of effect. So yeah, it makes sense that because the public and also AI, I'm sure AI is part of this as well. This is Palantir's having a party over here with, you know, all their stuff getting implemented, I'm sure, with all the scraping of the data, but it's getting to that point where the AI itself and the people that are doing the work, it starts to become its own hive mind. And that's the surveillance state is taking form where the people are participating in the surveillance of the state. So basically, we're surveilling ourselves basically at this point, which, you know, will clean up some things, of course, but is very much palpable to all kinds of other horrific types of control and authority and enslavement, all that kind of stuff. So
now, just to make a comment from the NBC article here, says many speakers invoked the notion of a revival, in quotes, and spoke in expressly religious terms, canonizing Kirk. I think they're using that phrase non-officially, or they just don't know what it means, a co-founder of the organization Turning Point USA, and describing, quote, a spiritual war, in the words of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, in which Kirk was a fighter. Now remember, Pete Hegseth is not the defense secretary. I was surprised that they missed this opportunity. Pete Hegseth is the Secretary of War. And NBC was using his previous title, Defense Secretary. But we've seen the sort of Pete Hegseth narrative over the past year or so about how he's wants the Crusades and how he's a Knights Templar and how he's like a psycho.
I know it's such a man. It's too bad because there's a part of me that's kind of like with this idea of a revival and this public declaration that we're experiencing a spiritual war. It's so on point with what we've been talking about for so long and what we've been passionate about, that it's kind of like, yes, this is great that, you know, they're getting the word out. This is like the highest levels of getting the word out. But then, of course, it's coming from the very thing that wants to harvest all of that and use it for different purposes. But I guess that's the way it was always going to be, wasn't it? I mean, if you can't think about it. So
Careful
it makes
now.
sense.
Don't get too far ahead because we're going to jump right into the
all
broader
right.
conversation we're having. But the point being here, as usual, as we've pointed out, with the now years-long campaign to familiarize the mainstream, you know, normies with spiritual warfare and Christian nationalism being a militant movement. And now we have Secretary of War Pete Hegseth calling it a spiritual war. And they go on and on and on. Now, remember, the headline says mixing calls for forgiveness and vengeance. And pretty much every clip that they played in quote form on that video was kind of nothing. It was Erika saying, I miss him. He was my husband. And we have Trump saying, Charlie was a good guy. You know, it's these kind of like throwaway clips, which I thought was an interesting move of theirs, considering we have
the clips that actually exist.
The actual clips that show the mix of forgiveness and vengeance. Now, I don't know where vengeance came from, but okay. And now this was the clip that I would have expected them, if they were trying to really give the, I don't know, impression of what the widow of Charlie Kirk was trying to communicate. Here is that. It's a little long and it's got some pauses, but this was sort of the emotional moment that at least Christians that I'm seeing, you know, are very proud of her response in this case. But of course, this clip is being ignored by the mainstream media because if you see this clip, you can't call them Nazis and you can't call it a fascist, you know, rally. You can't, all the claims that this was some sort of like Nazi festival don't quite jive with this clip of Erika Kirk.
My husband, Charlie, he wanted to save young men, just like the one who took his life. That young man. On the cross, our Savior said, Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do. That man, that young man, I forgive him.
then it cuts to clips of the audience, close-ups of everybody, a standing ovation, 80,000 people on their feet, clapping about forgiveness. Goes back to her crying, wiping, dabbing her makeup before it starts running. More clapping, more clapping.
I think that's the lady that was quoted outside.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. About 30 seconds left in the clip here.
I forgive him because it was what Christ did and is what Charlie would do. The answer to hate is not hate. The answer we know from the gospel is love, and always love. Love for our enemies and love for those who persecute us.
Whew.
Clip it right there.
Pretty powerful.
Yeah, well, it's very interesting. And I tried to express my thoughts about when Erika Kirk has come out and made statements. That first statement she made on video, even this one, some people are having a hard time sort of maybe processing her delivery and things like that. And I want to recognize that there's certainly something. And I don't even want to jump into the pool of, calling her some sort of actress or
she's faking it or something like that. I had
something about her cadence and stuff that, like, I think we all feel that there's something kind of weird there. I want to give her credit and just say, like, yeah, she's a grieving widow. Like, she's going to have to practice these things. She's going to have to deliver it. We can't expect her to just be totally whatever, what
bubbly and fine or something,
or whatever. Like, what do you expect someone in that situation? I don't know, but I do recognize some people. There is something that there's a feeling to watching her do this that it does make you wonder. But anyways,
well, yeah, I think it's also in our modern society. We spend a lot of time watching movies and films and TV shows and stuff, Netflix, whatever. And so, we are already programmed to think or to suspend reality in a sense. So, and just the cadence, the cultural cadence of how people talk, it's just, if people are watching a lot of TV, they're going to naturally pick up on those slight tendencies or habits or whatever. And as genuine as you'd want to be, if you mimic the culture or the language or whatever, or the body movements, people might see that and associate it and be like, oh yeah, it's just like acting.
Yeah,
but, again, it goes both ways.
I do want to recognize, like, I think I feel what a lot of people are feeling watching her do it, but I do want to also recognize, like, yes, she is now leadership in a humongous political beast that is Turning Point USA, and now people are claiming she worked or works in the entertainment industry. I don't really know about that. It doesn't change the fact that her husband has been, murdered in cold blood in public. Like, I have no idea what a woman in that position is, like, supposed to sound like or like supposed to make me feel. And I think feeling really kind of uncomfortable at a widow who's just happens to be in the situation where she feels she is, required, it's her duty to stand up in front and
in front of 100,000 people and deliver a speech. And that is
not speak at her husband's funeral. It's crazy.
I mean, even if you are acting, that's tough. So I don't know. I think you're right. It's hard to nail down. Those are things left for God to know. I don't think.
I don't want to be hard on her, but I do want people to also. Well, I hear you. I feel
right. Yes,
I see what you're saying. Yeah. So there you go. Okay, there's the forgiveness that NBC mentioned in their headline.
What a powerful thing, too. Yeah.
Interesting how they didn't take a clip of her saying, I forgive him, and putting that in their news report. But okay, now where's the vengeance?
I forgive him, standing ovation would have been a great little clip there.
There you go. Would have been a great clip.
Would have been way more powerful. Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. I'll tell you one thing. I did not watch the entire thing. It was about 10 hours.
No,
and
I
was filled with, it was this very interesting combination of, like, revival service, church service, Christian event, memorial, obviously, but also Turning Point is a political organization. It's filled with political politicians. Those political politicians. It was this weird thing that it had to be all those things. It couldn't have not have also been a political event because of who Charlie was and the context in which he was taken out. It had to be a political event, and it also had to be a funeral,
a religious or memorial service.
Religious memorial service. But then it also became this revival thing. Like when I say revival thing, I mean like like maybe not a conference, but a tent revival almost.
You can call it a high watermark moment again. You used that phrase earlier today.
My Christian vocabulary is failing me a little bit because when I was a kid growing up in the church, we went to these kinds of, I guess we called them conferences or
events,
revivals or events. Yeah, I kind of
you and I went to an event. It was at the Coliseum. Do you remember that?
We went to the Azusa thing.
Yes, the Azusa revival. Was that what it was called?
Yeah, so that's what they're called. I mean, they're called revival events, at least in the Christian tradition I grew up in. So it was this revival mixed with a funeral, mixed with a political event. And so it was this weird conglomeration that had, worships. It had multiple worship breaks. It had preaching. It had the widow and friends and everybody, but then there was this political aspect where the vice president got up and the president got up. And again, I do not know why NBC missed the opportunity to play this clip of Trump. This should have been the main clip of Trump.
Everything we need to know about who Charlie Kirk truly was. He was a missionary with a noble spirit and a great, great purpose. He did not hate his opponents. He wanted the best for them. That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponent, and I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry. I am sorry, Erika. But now Erika can talk to me and the whole group, and maybe they can convince me that that's not right, but I can't stand my opponent. Charlie's angry. Looking down, he's angry at me now. He wasn't interested in demonizing anyone. He was interested in persuading everyone to the ideas and principles he believed were good, right, and true. Before each appearance, he prayed these words: God, use me for your will. Always said the same thing. Use me for your will. And that
interesting cut.
Yeah, I just cannot believe that they missed the clip of Trump going, "I hate my opponents. I hate my opponents."
I mean,
especially, with all these, people online and various mainstream outlets been like, it was a Nazi rally. It was a scary look into the Christian nationalist fascist future of America. I hate my opponents. I would, he's doing it in this way that is hilarious. I mean, it was very funny show, because what Trump is simultaneously recognizing is, hey, Charlie Kirk was a man of faith, and Jesus told us to love our enemies, but I ain't Jesus. I hate my enemies, which is both funny, but also kind of ominous.
Kind of ominous, a little ominous. It's a reminder that it is also a political rally here. This is not just a memorial or a church service, but it is in fact a political
in classic
rally.
And this is what a lot of people like about Trump, is that he's not faking being a super Christian or something, because what he says is antithetical to the Christian teaching, and we all recognize that. But also, what is a core part of being a Christian is recognizing our own fallenness, recognizing how we don't love like Christ loves, we can't love how Christ loves, recognizing our fallen nature. And in a way, what Trump is doing here is kind of endearing, as you can hear from the crowd there. Is this kind of endearing way that,
Well, he
like
probably, I didn't watch
like
the whole thing, but he probably
pastor
broke the
admit.
tension a little bit, because
Oh,
it was
totally.
probably
Yeah.
very somber, and he threw that in to kind of get things rallied up a little bit, so.
Yeah. And making not just sort of a religious statement, and who knows if he was trying to or not, but his religious statement was a very powerful religious statement, which is something that the mainstream and people who just get what they know about Christianity from movies and TV shows, is that Christians are the first ones to tell you that they do not live up to the ideals of Jesus Christ. That is our core identity.
That's like the whole
that
point. Yeah.
Is that we are constantly falling short of the glory of God. And so to a Christian hearing them say that, you go, yeah, but like your pastor would make a joke like that,
He's leaning into the realities of the fallen nature and making a joke, I suppose. But yeah.
So it's a good
brilliant. It's a joke. It makes people laugh, and he gets to make a political statement all at once. The magician is at it again.
Right. A good Christian, true theological statement, but also this like piece of political ammunition he's just sort of handing over to those and on the left. And again, I actually give NBC credit for this, because it's almost as if they used it, it's falling like right into his trap, but you're seeing a lot of online people who just make their money from clicks, clipping it, using it to continue to kind of stoke the left-wing craziness. Now, here's a little clip of protesters. RT posted a little clip of protesters. And one thing that a lot of people were surprised by was how few protesters there were out there. And I would actually probably mute this, Gons, because they just have like RT techno music playing underneath it.
Nice.
You can see here. Just press play. You can see him back there. So outside, it was noted by a lot of people how few protesters. This video here has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think
there's more signs than people.
Yeah, right. People are holding like 4 signs apiece. Those last 2 guys actually look like perhaps they're Westboro Baptist Church. They at least copied the Westboro Baptist graphic artist design. But it looks like there's some Westboro Baptist Church people there who love to show up to funerals specifically. But a surprising lack of numbers when it comes to the protesters. And part of it is, they could have kept protesters away, maybe whatever, they herded them, whatever, I don't know. I think also it kind of seems like maybe those who would have considered themselves on the left are realizing that they're more just like normal Democrats, and the thought of showing up to Charlie Kirk's funeral and protesting is just like so abhorrent and gross to their humanity that I think the reflection of less protesters is a pretty good indication of what we've been seeing since his assassination, which is a bunch of Democrats being like, oh, whoa, I didn't know.
Maybe it's
so gross. I don't know about this,
The pendulum swinging so far right that the people on the far left, they're basically in the middle now, and they're kind of like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Why were we wanting this? And of course, culturally, when they come out and say things, and that's the side you're associated with, it's going to turn off the whole political movement of people.
Yeah.
I did notice that AOC is trying to be the next president.
She's trying. We'll see.
It's
But
pushing the Charlie Kirk thing to try to make it happen. So
I mean, the far left is always going to be the far left, but I think the fact is where we used to see regular Democrats show up and join in these numbers for these like far left causes because there's some sort of like twist in perception about what is radical left and what is just regular Democrats. Every Democrat for a second there thought that they were like activists who are going to show up and burn down police stations because that was made normal on the Democrat side, I think not just the assassination of Charlie Kirk, but the response by the far left has scared away a lot of your sort of normie Democrats who are going out and they're registering as Republican. Republican numbers, registration numbers, have like tripled every day since the assassination. So I think we're seeing that reflected in these protests here. Now, it must be said, Guns, because this was a large event, and it just so happened to have happened on a day that space.com says was a partial solar eclipse on September 21st. A partial solar eclipse is happening today. This was on September 21st, offering skywatchers a chance to see the moon appear to take a bite out of the sun. They give us all the details about how we can see this partial solar eclipse. And depending on what your algorithms are doing, you'll also see that there were all the planets but Jupiter were aligned, and all the blah, blah, blah. And it's the fall equinox. And what a powerful spiritual time to hold some sort of ritual. And when I saw that it was an eclipse that day, immediately, of course, I go, oh, of course is okay. Let's dig into this a little bit. Let's see what was actually going on. It took me 4 seconds to find that this was a rabbit hole I did not need to dive into, because this crazy lady, with the help of ChatGPT, had already done it. There may be the D word in here. Sorry, kids, cover your ears. But this was a beautiful moment for me, knowing that we needed to talk about something, knowing we make it part of our jobs to spot the occult influences, to spot the spiritual warfare, to spot the rituals happening in plain sight, to try to gain a bigger picture, not just of what's going on in the world, but what's going on in the heavenly realms, and which actors with which motivations might be pulling off, this is our job. And there are beautiful moments in our life that the Lord gives us with his grace that just says, you don't need to bother with this one, Basil. That just let it go, because this crazy lady's already on it, and there's nothing more that you can add or subtract. So this is on top of everything. We've got the Christian nationalism. We've got the I would say, I don't know how to really say it, but the sort of real Christian life aspect of what's going on. Of course, we've got the political aspect of what's going on, and we got to get the New Agers in here. But the New Age Psyop has, of course, as we know, been instantly strapped to one of Elon's rockets and is just going at the speed of light up towards the sun with the help of ChatGPT and AI psychosis. But here is, I'm sad to have given it away that this was written by ChatGPT, but you'll notice a couple things this woman says as she is very, very secretly reading a script that immediately give it away. But here are the details.
We will launch a new age.
They chose the memorial today on purpose. You hear me? On purpose. Do not let anybody tell you it was a coincidence that almost 80,000 people packed the stadium on the exact day of a solar eclipse, a new moon, and Saturn at opposition. That's not random. That's staging. That's choreography. And it wasn't for you. It was for them. And here is the ugly truth. Crowds are batteries. When tens of thousands cry, chant, and sway together, you create a current. Science calls it collective effervescence. Spirit folks call it energy harvesting. I call it what I see it, stealing your grief and cashing it in. And this playbook isn't new. The Romans did it in the Colosseum, blood and bread to distract the people while the empire pulled strings behind the curtain. Televangelists do it every single Sunday. whipping a congregation into tears, then passing the plate at the peak. Even Hollywood showed you the metaphor in The Matrix. Humans strapped in as living batteries, feeding a machine that doesn't give a damn about them. Fiction? Sure, but it makes the point plain. Your energy can be drained and redirected. That's exactly what happened today. A memorial dressed up as a spectacle, tears turned into chants, destiny slipped into the mic right as the eclipse hit. While you were raw from loss, they funneled that energy straight into their machine. Donations, pledges, loyalty. The eclipse, that was the amplifier. Tie a man's death to the heavens, and suddenly it's not just a loss, it's prophecy. And if you question it, you're told you're dishonoring the dead. And that's the trick. Grief turns sacred, sacred turn untouchable, untouchable turns useful. And here is the kicker. It worked. People walked out of there buzzing, ready to give, ready to fight, ready to defend a story somebody else scripted for them. That charge didn't fade when the lights cut off. It got banked. It'll be spent later on whatever agenda they load into it. This was not comfort. It wasn't closure. It was control. They harvested 80,000 beaten hearts today and called it a memorial. So don't get played. Don't call it holy when it was a hustle. They chose that day on purpose. They chose that stadium on purpose. They used that eclipse on purpose. And unless you start naming it, they'll keep doing it. Because listen, harvesting your pain has always been the oldest con in the book. Stay awake, stay loud, and do not let them farm you like cattle.
Woo doggy, there she goes. Let her loose with a chat GPT and she can just go, baby.
Yeah.
Now
I got enough to deal with in real life. And then I hop onto the show as my therapy, and then this is what I get here.
Well, and this is the funny thing, because all the things she said, are not necessarily incorrect.
Well, there's nuggets of truth there, but yes, the delivery and the the overall sort of context might be a little off there. But
it's not this is that. This is the scam.
Did she breathe? I don't think she's human. That was not edited, folks. Like, how sometimes they do a fast cut edit. People are now fast cut editing themselves because they can just read AI outputs without breathing. Apparently, I don't think I didn't hear a single breath.
Good. She obviously does. I didn't look into her. Maybe she is practiced up on this sort of thing. But there you go. You think that we got to remember, we got to keep in mind that this was a political event, very powerful political people. It was on the 33rd parallel. It was on the eclipse. It was on the fall equinox. All these things. I mean, it was as sort of ripe for this sort of thing as like the Super Bowl halftime show type of thing.
Yeah.
And it's funny because AI is now very good at putting together the sort of schizo content. Like I mean, schizogram is still my favorite part of the internet. And you spend time on the internet after about 9 p.m., you're gonna fall into some weird rabbit holes. But point being is this just sort of outrageously well produced, well attended, well planned. I mean, that was kind of one of the things too. People were like, there's no way they put this together in a week. Well, it's Turning Point USA with basically the full backing of the US government. They are they can pull it off. Event planning, that's their whole thing. They're
great event planners. Yeah,
they probably already had these speakers and this venue already booked because they were doing TPUSA events on that.
True. Day. Oh, man, that's a good point. Maybe to look at a calendar to see. But I mean, with an event like this, they can get people to move very quickly.
It was also C-SPAN. It was. I mean, that's the crazy thing. I mean, of course, we talk about the sort of power of ritual is fueled by human attention. The more eyeballs you can get on certain things gives the spell more power. And of course, there's going to be millions, not only of almost 100,000 people in the stadium, but millions of people watching around the world. That the U.S. federal government was streaming it on C-SPAN is also a pretty crazy detail.
Yeah. Well, the reaction to all of this, the Christian nationalism side of it is, I know we talked about it a little bit, but there's a couple things I want to point out.
So you see,
I also call myself a Christian nationalist, and that's not a bad word.
So, of course, the mainstream started labeling a lot of the right-wing extremists and everything as Christian nationalism, Christian nationalist. I don't know. It's been, how long has it been now? Maybe 10 years or something like that. It's been quite a long time.
Many
But
years.
but for the most part, the right or the conservative folks did not identify with it necessarily, not because they weren't, but that it just wasn't really on their radar. It was there. And in fact, interestingly enough, folks like Nick Fuentes, I don't know if he used the phrase Christian nationalism ever, but the sort of talking points are similar. But now we have people really just openly stating their Christian nationalism and being okay with it. This is Jason Whitlock posting this yesterday. Jason Whitlock is former ESPN. He left because he was not happy with the sort of political flavor of everything going on in the mainstream there. And he branched off into his own thing. And he's an interesting character because he leans into a lot of conspiratorial or, collusion type of talk within the sports industry. It's one of those brand things. It's really fascinating as an independent / alt media personality. But he said, what you're witnessing is Christian nationalism. If you're ashamed of it, that's your problem, not mine. You've been brainwashed by Marxists to believe that wanting government respectful of Jesus Christ is a bad thing. I've rejected the brainwashing. This memorial is awesome. So he thought the memorial was awesome. And he thought it was a seminal moment in declaring his Christian nationalism because it is steering him clear of the Marxist brainwashing.
Yeah, well, I think that's what we're seeing. I think that is ultimately what I'm seeing, is that Christian nationalism after yesterday is now held as a bad thing by now a minority of people. Or it used to be, even, let's just say, I mean, we could talk about this year. It certainly caught on quite a bit, but we first saw it picking up speed in the mainstream during COVID, where they start talking about the dark new reality of American politics, Christian nationalism. Biden had the FBI investigating all these Christian organizations and, turning Catholics, traditional Catholics, into a terrorist group or whatever.
I mean, it's kind of what they're doing. I laugh, but that's the blueprint. They used it before. We've, this is part of the history of our show, is that we've documented some of these things and spoken to people who did even more of the heavy lifting when it comes to documenting this stuff. But, I mean, it's just crazy how one of the things we talked about, at least back on episode 1, well, there's a couple different episodes I want to highlight, but one of them is not too long ago, on June 9th of 2023. We published episode 159 of Canary Cry Radio, The Truth About Christian Nationalism. And the point was, hey, don't necessarily buy into it. Not because you're like you're agreeing with some kind of Democrat or liberal Marxist brainwashing, but ironically enough, it's its own type of brainwashing to truly radicalize a population into a revolution, quote unquote, that may have some violence attached to it for the benefit of not necessarily them.
The issues with it, just to put a little bit more subtlety on it, the issues with it, because like I said, I've said almost this exact phrase that Jason Whitlock used, which I'm wondering, what's up, Jason? That, there's Christian nationalism, but then there's a totally normal desire for your government to hold spiritual things in high regard. There's Christian nationalism, the American terrorist underground that the mainstream has been talking about for years. But then there's, being a Christian and desiring your government to have the same morals and ethics that your religion teaches. Are these two different things? Are they not two different things? I think it's going back to the double speak, mind control. Oh, something got tweaked over on your side, Gons. I don't know if he's actually still here. He may have disappeared.
I'm here. I just gotta. I got my son with me for a few minutes here, so I gotta.
Oh yeah, no worries. So let's be clear. Those are two normal, totally different things. What Jason Whitlock is saying here, yeah, your government being respectful of Jesus Christ is a totally acceptable thing. I think that is what most people who would call themselves pro-Christian nationalists would say. There are certainly some Christian nationalists who would like a theocracy, who I'm not even saying, I have heard some arguments for a lot of crazy different ways the government could work, going from monarchy to theocracy to all these things. And there is a growing contingent of people who very seriously, are becoming more and more open to some sort of government in that fashion. Now, I think there's still a minority who would go for something as, explicit as that. But with the Canary Cry Radio episode 159, remember, folks, you are listening now to Canary Cry News Talk. Canary Cry Radio is a totally different show with interviews and topical things. You can go check it out. Canary Cry Radio episode 159, The Truth About Christian Nationalism. We really dig into this. What is Christian nationalism as it's being presented? What is the history of Christian nationalism in America going back to the mid-20th century when the government, specifically and with bureaucratic excellence, turned Christians into a voting bloc and instituted intelligence, operations to have influence with Christian leaders and religious leaders in the country. That when Christians as a group were sort of organized and deployed, because it used to be everybody was a Christian, you're Democrat, you're Republican, doesn't matter, everybody's Christian. That's called being an American, basically. But around the middle of the 20th century is when that started to change, and the government comes in and says, okay, let's go to work. And they did go to work. And the sort of religious and political landscape that we're in now did not happen by accident. And it certainly did not happen organically either. So we had a great conversation with Dr. Future. What is this? 153. There it is. With Jesus versus the spiritual industrial complex, with Dr. Future. And Dr. Future, of course, is sort of a godfather of a genre which is now possibly populates most of the internet, which is sort of the fringy Christian narrative establishment, skeptical, spiritual worldview Genesis 6 folks. Still trips me out that is now not a fringy contingent of the internet. But truly, we owe a lot to Dr. Future, and he was very kind to come on and share his thoughts in this history with us. He also has at least one great book. I think it's a series of books, if I remember correctly. And maybe we're going to have to get Dr. Future back on, Gons. I mean, it might be time.
Absolutely. We do have this from this.
Yes. So there is the Christian, the Charlie Kirk funeral could be looked at as sort of the turning point. Everybody's getting a lot of use out of that turn of phrase nowadays, but this sort of coronation of Christian nationalism as a totally sort of acceptable political worldview, which is exactly what the left wants. The mainstream and the left have been building up this phrase, Christian nationalism, to be the worst possible thing in the world. And while, yes, lots of people are becoming Christian, lots of people are becoming more bold in their Christianity, lots of Christians are becoming more politically active and aware, we, of course, have the dialectic. And this is what the left is thinking about this Christian nationalism. And for those who are listening or watching, just play a little game. Somewhere in this clip, you can find where the whole thing turns on its head, and we couldn't help but laugh out loud.
Say it here and share what I think is going to happen next. So today at Charlie Kirk's memorial, Christian nationalism will be introduced and made commonplace and acceptable and what USA should be. This week, I suspect Netanyahu might actually proclaim Jesus as the Messiah and therefore become a Messianic Jew, which is just basically a Christian Jew. And Israel, the nation, will become part of Christian nationalism. And all the countries, the right-leaning Christian nationalist countries, will come together as one solid unit of Christian nationalism and Christian spreading, try to spread Christianity throughout the country. And anyone who is against Christianity will be labeled an enemy.
I mean,
I love watching the chat do that thing. You know, she starts off, oh, yes, oh, these Christians, today's Charlie Kirk's funeral. Now, Christian nationalism is going to be totally normal. And then Benjamin Netanyahu is going to proclaim Jesus Christ.
She would be number one prophet on the show if that happens this week. I mean, that is, if you want left field, that's left field. That's beyond left. That's from out of the park.
It shows a perfectly left sort of schizo understand. Like, you can tell she's kind of like fallen down the rabbit hole on Jewish and Christian eschatology. You know, she's like gone through and
listen to this show. That's for
she's
sure.
She's like read the CNN article about like Christian think the end times are coming. And then she's like gone over and read the NPR article about like, you know, the third temple in Jerusalem, but she like doesn't have any context for it. And she's kind of mixing it up in her head. And she's like, you know, huffing paint and like going to protest or something. So she's like, oh yes, don't worry. I've done the research, my fellow leftists. Bibi Netanyahu is going to proclaim Jesus Christ as the Messiah. And then Christian nationalism is like, oh my God.
Israel's going to be Christian nationalist. Even though that's a whole different nation, but you know, it's a thing.
She like read how Charlie Kirk like supports Israel and like puts it all together. Like, yeah, okay, Israel's going to be Christian nationalist, and then they're going to hunt down all the blue hairs. So there you go. This is a good example of the madness that's going across.
I mean, it does demonstrate that on all sides, people are freaking out. Pointing fingers at the other side.
Yeah, well, we harvested all that grief on the solar eclipse at Charlie Kirk's funeral. Everybody's gonna get all tweaked out.
Yeah.
Okay. Real quick. Oh, on that topic, by the way, just a quick mention here. This is reported on AP. This was kind of a big development this morning, or yesterday rather, on the same day as Charlie Kirk's Christian nationalist funeral, and this lady called it that Bibi Netanyahu is going to proclaim Jesus Christ as the Messiah of Israel. This headline from AP: UK, Australia, and Canada recognize a Palestinian state, prompting anger from Israel. The UK, Australia, and Canada formally recognized a Palestinian state on Sunday, prompting an angry response from Israel, which ruled out the prospect. Keep in mind, UK, Australia, Canada, these are members of Five Eyes, the sort of international intelligence agency club that we're all in. So UK, Australia, Canada, generally reflecting movements within the global intelligence community here. The coordinated initiative from the three Commonwealth nations and longtime allies reflects growing outrage at Israel's conduct of the war in Gaza and the steps taken by Israeli government to thwart efforts to create a Palestinian state, including by the continued expansion of settlements in the West Bank. And, it goes into the details here. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who has faced pressure to take a harder line on Israel within his own governing Labour Party over the deteriorating situation in Gaza, said the UK's move is intended, quote, to revive the hope of peace for the Palestinians and the Israelis. He insisted it wasn't a reward for Hamas, which was behind the attack on October 7th, in which the militants killed some 1,200 people. Quote, to revive the hope of peace and a two-state solution, I state clearly as Prime Minister of this great country that the United Kingdom formally recognizes the state of Palestine. Starmer said in a video message, "We recognized the state of Israel more than 75 years ago as a homeland for the Jewish people. Today we join over 150 countries who recognize a Palestinian state also." So this is a pretty big deal. For it to happen on the day of Charlie Kirk's funeral holds some sort of impact. I don't know, I mean, we could draw direct connections between Charlie Kirk, the conspiracy theories, the support for Israel, et cetera, et cetera. But who knows? Maybe it was just the solar eclipse, guns.
Yeah, I mean, I can picture the social engineers pulling all that energy out of the memorial and then like shooting it over to Gaza, Palestine area to do something. I don't know. Yeah.
Like a Death Star laser.
Yeah, like drawing energy and shooting it out. Yeah, it's one of those. It continues to be a contentious issue, and I would imagine that it's going to shape a lot of how the further divide will occur in terms of the what the world thinks about what's happening there, because it doesn't seem like Israel's going to stop until they build out what they want to build out there. So, whether the rest of the world or part of the world calls it one thing or another, it feels like, in the Hegelian dialectic, or, a third party or an unseen party controlling everything. I think they're getting what they want, regardless of what people call it over time.
Yeah, I mean, they've already, the stories recently, they've already started dividing up the real estate. They're making moves. Yeah. They've started their ground assault. We didn't necessarily.
Is Whitlock involved? Did they, because, they're rebuilding Ukraine with Abramovich, remember, as the head of education over there. So who are they getting into Gaza to, lay the cornerstone?
There was a list. I didn't. It's been about a week or so since I read it, but yeah, they're officially starting to split things up. The ground assault is moving into Gaza to formally sort of occupy the territory. The thing with the UK, Australia, Canada coming out now, it seems almost purely political for the politicians involved, because too late. Like, what are you talking about? It's already cleared out. They're already have boots on the ground. There is no Gaza. What, coming out and saying all this now is just kind of like, oh, we're just doing this so they don't kill us, so they don't come and burn our houses down like they did in Nepal.
It's also a very interesting social experiment if you think about it, because you're going to have Mara Gaza, right? What jokingly said, but maybe perhaps really some sort of resort-like place. It's going to be very peaceful, I'm sure, under a lot of heavy surveillance or whatever. But kind of an attraction, right? That's what they've wanted to build, this sort of attraction for a vacation spot, that kind of thing. So that's what's going to be the reality. Boots on the ground is this sort of nice resort-like atmosphere. But then in Europe, they're going to be calling it a state of Palestine, and they're just going to be kept, it's war. It's what are they going to be fed? Like, what, for them to be able to not be there physically, but have this sort of political view of it that, I don't know. I guess that already happens around.
No, I mean, well, we saw it with, well, I mean, you can copy, we've done episodes and we've done interviews with Northern Irish and on the Northern Ireland thing, and the Northern Irish, they consider themselves brothers with the Palestinians, because you go to the history, and what happened between Israel and Palestine basically was just a copy paste of the UK and Ireland, and even the sort of British cutting up of the territory happened at the year after they cut up Ireland from Northern Ireland. This splitting of a territory, this occupation of a territory, and it was literally like they had just split Northern Ireland off of Ireland, which is incredibly this disputed thing even to this day. They went through horrible things in the 80s and the 90s, and there are still sort of militant actions about separating Northern Ireland from the UK. It was like the year after they did that the Queen was like, okay, let's do it again. But do it to Palestine or Gaza or Israel or whatever, kind of creating what a lot of people would consider like an artificial separation of states there, with the plan specifically to create trouble. That's the point, is to create trouble. And, it's funny because, like you say, there's Gaza and then there's going to be Mara Gaza. They're going to be the same place. It's just going to have two different names. It'll be a shibboleth, depending. It'll tell someone else about who you are and what your beliefs are based on what you call Gaza or Mara Gaza. It's kind of like Derry and Londonderry in Northern Ireland, a famous example of this sort of thing. And like you said, it goes back to the network state idea, where we kind of still get trapped in thinking about geopolitics in nation states, when those at the top now, they do not think of things in nation states. They're thinking of it in network states.
They're thinking like that lady who ranted off the chat GPT. It's Christian nationalism everywhere, baby. That's the network. The new network state is Christian nationalism. It doesn't matter what nation you're in, but you're part of the Christian nation.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're exactly right.
The kingdom of God. But of course, it's interesting how it's happening politically. Maybe the pioneers of the network state are the Christians.
Yeah, well, we've said that before. They're trying to counterfeit the spiritual reality with network state, whereas with Christians, we know that we are citizens of the kingdom of heaven, and we are both now and in the age to come residents of heaven, even if we're not physically there right now.
Hey, Basil, there's a little bit of breaking news here. I do have a clip of it, and this is what we expected. This is not anything out from left field. Hopefully you're okay with it. It's Trump announcing the connection between Tylenol and autism.
Oh, yes. Good.
Yeah, this just happened.
The Amish, virtually. I heard none. See, Bobby wants to be very careful with what he says, and he should, but I'm not so careful with what I say. But you have certain groups, the Amish as an example, they have essentially no autism. First, effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Is that okay? Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol, during pregnancy, can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. So taking Tylenol is not good. All right, I'll say it, not good. For this reason, they are strongly recommending that women limit Tylenol use during pregnancy unless medically necessary. That's, for instance, in cases of extremely high fever, that you feel you can't tough it out, you can't do it. I guess there's that. It's a small number of cases, I think. But if you can't tough it out, if you can't do it, that's what you.
Gosh, these people in their clipping it's so bad. But what was it? I thought this seems still like a big distraction because the elephant in the room. My jingle board stopped working. Oh no! Oh, what is going on? I was supposed to play the
babies chewing on the cords.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. I can't wait to actually go watch the whole thing. I would be very curious if it only included the things that the leaker said it was, or if there was anything added or taken away from that. I mean, not that I didn't believe the acetaminophen leak or whatever they wanted to call it. But yeah, I'll be curious to see if they do add or subtract. There has been some movement lately with the vaccine schedule in regards to sort of parents' options from vaccine recommendations. Not a whole lot of movement, but the media has been talking about how crazy the meetings have been, and the vaccine council is out of control, and they don't know how to hold a meeting. And at least from what I've heard recently, is that there have been some slight changes to the recommendations as far as mandates and stuff. No earth-shattering news, but mandates are not necessarily the purview of the federal government anyways. But yeah, I'll be interested to see if there's anything else that comes out of that. Are you distracted by babies? Shall I continue the show? Seems like it might be distracted by babies. Okay.
Oh, I was muted. Hold on. Here we go. There we go. Can you hear me now?
Jeez Louise. Yeah. Yes, I can hear you now. While we're on the changes that are going on in the world, another thing with Trump here is Kayleigh McEnany, not Kayleigh McEnany. What's this woman's name?
Catherine?
Catherine. Wait, that's not her name either.
Caitlin.
Yes. It's a White House spokeswoman talking about the plans today. It actually might turn into breaking news as well regarding Trump and Antifa.
Oop. Here we go.
Antifa is going to be designated a domestic terrorist organization. The president intends to sign that executive order very soon as it's drafted, as soon as today, later this afternoon. And this is something the president campaigned on, because we have seen a rise in violence perpetuated by Antifa radical people across this country who subscribe to this group. And unfortunately, it's gone widely uncovered by many in the legacy media. It also went completely ignored by the previous administration. Not anymore. Not only, as you mentioned, were the bullet casings subscribed with Antifa mottos, if you will, in the heinous assassination of Charlie, but there have also been more examples than I could read off for you here in this briefing room today of violence from Antifa. I will just read a few. In July 2025, several members of an Antifa cell ambushed and opened fire on officers at an ICE facility in Alvarado, Texas, shooting one officer in the neck. Also in July 2025, 3 Antifa members were charged with assaulting a police officer during a violent riot outside an ICE facility in Portland, which for weeks prior had been under siege from the local Antifa terror cell. In February 2024, a transgender Antifa terrorist detonated an explosive device outside of the office of the Republican Attorney General of Alabama. In July 2023, Antifa members linked to abortionist group Jane's Revenge firebombed pro-life facilities and vandalized churches. In January 2022, a suspected Antifa member was arrested for bringing a pipe bomb to a pro-Trump event. In January 2021, an Antifa supporter threatened to shoot police officers and Trump supporters outside of the Florida State Capitol building. Again, I could continue to list many more examples for those in the room who don't believe this is a serious threat to American safety and our national security, but this administration knows that it is. That's why the president will be signing this order. And we will also be, most importantly, looking at who is funding Antifa and who is funding these other violent left-wing groups that we've seen perpetuate so much crime and mayhem across our country.
Crime
would have helped if they did it first term, or was it not as big of a problem during Trump's first term?
I don't know. I mean, the Antifa problem became worse in 2020 than it did before. I don't know. It was a while back. I mean, certainly we know that the violence and activity has only increased every year since 2016. But yeah, he did mention this. Caroline Leavitt is her name, that we knew and should have known and still know. Caroline Leavitt. Thank you, Caroline. One of the things to point out in that clip there was specifically they're going to be,
going after the funding.
Down. Yes, most importantly, looking at who is funding Antifa, which, yeah, I mean, that's the real thing. Antifa themselves are just sort of some disturbed people who are brainwashed by Marxists, usually who come from other countries, usually failed communist states, and, are here to create problems, burn the system down so they can build it back up in their communist utopia, so they can all write poetry and farm. However, I'm looking now. It does, as of now, it does not look like he did sign anything. So, what time is it over in Washington? It's 6 p.m. over in Washington. I don't know.
5:45.
I guess they sign things at all hours over there, though. They're not necessarily on office hours, so who knows? They may sign it today, or it may.
Yeah, Trump after dinner. Hey, maybe he can do it tomorrow morning. There's a lot, he just did the vaccine, or not vaccine, I'm sorry, Tylenol, autism thing. So let's just push this one back today.
If the autism thing is happening right now, it's a chance, because usually he will have a news thing, a news conference, and then walk over to the desk and do stuff. So I don't know. We'll see if it pops up. But yeah, I mean, again, this was another thing in my moment of weakness when I go, good, great. Forget about the beast system, panopticon, police state, surveillance state closing in around us. And of course, it's going to come in the name of, whoever's most popular at the moment. And we're on an endless, unstoppable march towards technocracy and, yada, yada, yada. But a little bit. Yeah,
if CNN has anything to say about it, they said it's as soon as Monday is the signing, next Monday. Which would be the 29th, Basil. That would be the Archangel Michael anniversary.
That is weird that CNN is saying as soon as Monday and Caroline Levitt is saying as soon as today, which is Monday. Did you read that? Or I love
maybe he meant
pictures. The CNN headline pictures of Trump are great because they like Photoshop the orange around his face like they did with Joe Rogan.
Yeah. Oh, maybe they meant Monday today. Yeah, maybe that's what they meant.
Yeah, as soon as today.
Soon as Monday. Interesting. Why would they say as soon as Monday? Okay, all right. Anyway, there you go. We might see it today.
Yeah.
We might see it. We might not. But more important things are being signed by Trump.
Yeah, one quick thing here. This is coming from Futurism. Trump executive order quietly declares that NASA is now a spy agency. The Trump administration issued an executive order late last month quietly declaring that NASA will operate as a national intelligence and security agency going forward. The order stipulates that the agency will now have, quote, have as a primary function intelligence, counterintelligence, investigative, national security work. It's a major departure for the agency, which has historically focused on space exploration, as well as space and Earth sciences over its 67-year lifespan. Which is what I love about. I mean, again, Trump strikes again in his chaos magician way. In the words of Marina Abramovich, he's revealing the things that are. NASA has always been an intelligence and national security agency. Why do you think the country gives them any money at all? It's not to shoot monkeys into space. It's for spy satellites and intelligence and national security and all these things. That's what NASA is. Now, it does say, quote, no mention of that science and exploration stuff. NASA Watch founder Keith Cowing, a former scientist at the agency who now closely follows its internal and external politics, wrote in a blog post. And here's Futurism, just kind of squeaking the truth in here a little bit, but don't pay attention. There are signs that Trump's intentions behind the order were at least partially related to labor concerns rather than spycraft. The order also added NASA to the Federal Service Labor Management Relations Statute, excluding it from collective bargaining representation. So,
The order. Order, sure.
He recategorized NASA as well as the National Weather Agency and a couple other things like this, categorized them as important for intelligence and national security so that they can't unionize and push back politically, because that's how the deep state works. The deep state is the unelected bureaucracy. And as all those, James O'Keefe, Project Veritas videos have shown, that all these non-elected employees of the government, they like to slow down any political thing they don't like. They slow it down with bureaucracy. They slow it down with, strikes, with being bad at their job. They do it with lawfare. And so recategorizing NASA and the National Weather Service and the International Trade Administration as important for national security makes it so those sort of established, permanent, deep state, blob, whatever you want to call them, have less bureaucratic tools to slow down what the government wants to do. Again, is it probably going to bring us to the technocratic surveillance beast system? Yeah, probably. But hey, what are you going to do?
Well, they were going to protest. Look at these. A protest broke out after this news, Basil. Did you see this? Did you see the protest?
The sign on the left says honk. That's all it says. It's a big piece of paper that says honk on it. They're outside the NASA building. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 15 people. Again, less signs than people, which you can tell they're amateurs because they need more signs per person. One of the signs just says honk. Yeah,
you don't need to know why you're here. We just need to make noise. We need noise.
Making a difference.
That's right.
Noise,
That's right.
noise.
As the Grinch would say. The headline for this is, by the way, govexec.com. I don't know what that is. GovExec. Protesters denounce cuts to NASA staff, budgets, and union rights, and being turned into a transparent thing about intelligence operations.
Yeah.
Individuals wearing space-themed socks and carrying signs inspired by the Star Wars movies gathered outside NASA's Washington, D.C.
Antifa, round them up. Round up.
To protest the workforce reduction and proposed budget cuts at America's space agency. Several of the roughly 24 protesters specifically criticized an August 28th executive order by Trump.
Send in ICE. Send in ICE. Get him in there. Get Tom Homan in there.
Monica Gorman, Area Vice President of Goddard Engineers, Scientists, and Technicians Association, which represents employees at the Space Flight Center in Maryland, argued that removing union protections could make employees less likely to bring up inconvenient concerns.
Oh, no.
Well, it doesn't matter. The robots are taking over all the stuff, so don't worry about that there, Monica.
In her
Germ
role,
says
the protester identifies as a goose. Honk.
Honk. In her role as an operations research analyst, Gorman said that it's important for her cost and schedule estimates to be free from pressure or retaliation. Okay, all right. Well,
Yeah,
we're not
we
going to
get it.
spend too much time on this because
No, we get it. You want to do your Nephilim update? We got to get you out of here.
Oh, what time is it? Oh, yeah, okay. Sure. Let's do a little quick Nephilim update. It's been a little while. Let's do it here.
Nephilim update.
Always good old mycharisma.com to get all the fringy news. It's interesting because more people know about the Nephilim and all this stuff, but the ones there's still not like a true mainstream, like the big legacy presence. It's only touched on a couple times. Remember that Miami thing at the beginning? Was it the beginning of this year or last year? I forget now. But My Charisma is like right there. Faith outlet, news outlet. We've seen, colleagues like L.A. Marzulli featured on here. But the headline here, Nephilim spirits rising, the shocking demonic link to Charlie Kirk's accused killer. And it says here, the assassination of Charlie Kirk cannot be explained away by politics alone. The accused assassin, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, was not just another troubled young man. His life reveals a descent into perverse subcultures that twist God's design and open doors to ancient spiritual corruption. Robinson immersed himself in the furry movement.
Yeah.
A community that sexualizes cartoonish animal identities. At the same time, he lived with this transgender. We know about some of the things, right? So the point he's making in this article is that this is what caused the assassination, and that, of course, the hybrid nature of the Nephilim. Specifically, they mentioned the extra biblical texts such as the Book of Giants
in the context furries. They're saying he was a furry, and furries are Nephilim.
Furry and trans and all that stuff.
Wow.
Let me just read some of it here. At the same time, he lived with a transgender partner and frequently publicized their struggles online. To many, these seem like eccentric hobbies or private lifestyle choices. In reality, they represent grotesque distortions of humanity, rejecting the image of God in favor of hybrid identities and chaos. When people blur the lines between human and animal or male and female, they step onto ground long associated with demonic influence. So, not wrong. Scripture tells us that the Nephilim, hybrid offspring of fallen angels and human women who lived both before and after the flood. Giants like Og of Bashan and Anakim were physical reminders that this corruption continued long after Noah's time. Extra biblical texts, such as the Book of Giants, found among the Dead Sea Scrolls, describe how fallen angels also defiled animals, producing monstrous hybrids that filled the earth with violence. These writings echo the same theme. Demonic powers seek to corrupt and twist God's creation. Robinson's obsessions mirror those ancient patterns. The fascination with hybridized identities, whether through sexualized animal personas or the rejection of God's created order of gender, is not merely rebellion. I think this was written by AI. Is not merely rebellion. It is spiritual perversion that tracks with the corruption described in Genesis and the apocryphal writings. Pagan myths, too, are filled with tales of gods mingling with animals, further showing how deeply humanity has been tempted by these distortions throughout history. And then gets into some of the spiritual stuff. So, this is sort of the undercurrent, which, now that the head of, what was it, the Secretary of War, is that the official title of Pete Hegseth?
Yeah.
Yeah, that he has declared that this is a spiritual war. The undercurrent, I guess, knowledge or information regarding that, when you start getting into the specifics, is a lot of the Nephilim talk. If you're talking about a spiritual war and demonic forces and all that kind of stuff, it is this Nephilim topic. So it's going to be interesting to see how it rolls out, more so to the public in a way that, and that's the thing I'm not looking forward to, Basil, is the politicization of it. But could it be that politicization is truly the last hope for humanity? Because the opposition to it is going to be pure hybridization, microchips in the bodies, genetic tampering and messing around with animals and mixing with plants and blah, blah, blah. The whole Nephilim thing in full blown sort of, I don't know, manifestation. So yeah, I don't know. It's tough because it may be the case that we will need to be politically involved in some sense when it comes to that topic, because otherwise there's no more guardrails to keep from the world from completely going in that direction. Of course, we know that Jesus called this and said that as it were in the days of Noah, so shall it be the coming of the Son of Man. So we expect to see it. How much we participate in stopping it, it's been the lifelong question, Basil.
Yep. What are you going to do? Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting, the connection with the furries and the Nephilim too. I would say formerly kind of weird
defender of the furry movement, if I recall.
What? Me? What are you talking about?
I explicitly remember you told me not to make fun of the furries, that they are, they are humans, which that they are humans.
I know you're making a joke, but I don't know what's funny about it. And I think other people will probably believe you, Gonzo. So the point I'm trying to make is both in their own strange ways, furries and the knowledge of the Nephilim, formerly sort of like underground internet communities knowing about these things, perhaps being two sides of some sort of reflection, or one being the revelation of the other. And as we come into this crazy, unexpected, or perhaps entirely expected version of the beast system, all things sort of are running together, connecting to one another, the threads coming together into one sort of weird, spiritually perverse sweater to be worn by the abominable rebels of against heaven here on earth, gods. We've got a couple producers to thank, so I think we should do that.
Let's do it.
Okay. We are on the value for value model, folks. And that means that we don't take any money from corporations, commies, cartels, no platform partnerships, no sponsorships, no nothing. The only reason we exist is because of the value for value model. And you might think, well, that means that I have no responsibility in this aspect. Well, you might not, but here is the fact. The fact is, unless you want economic forces that control what you do and do not have access to, and if not economic forces, government forces, there's a little old something called the value for value model. We believe it's a very biblical concept, and not only is it biblical, but it also applies to natural law if you're a natural law person. And that is, we all have different ways of receiving and transmitting and expressing value in this world. This is one way that Gons and I try to create as much value in the world as possible. And remember, it's not just the show, it's not just the audio, the video, it's the community, it's the Discord, it's the culture, it's everything. And we couldn't do it without our producers. Are you a producer? Well, now might be the time, because if you want the show to exist, if there's any value in the show for you, or you've gotten any value from it, and you want to get value from it again, you got to participate in the value for value model, which means you become a producer. Yes, a producer with your time, your talent, or your treasure. And we got some people to thank for coming in and making this episode possible. Every episode of Canary Cry News Talk is explicitly made possible by our producers who come in. Sometimes they help us out with processes, or they create art or jingles or music, or they organize and run part of the community, whatever their skills, whatever value God's given them to put towards his work. That's what they do. And of course, we need people to come in with the value of the land, which is fiat currency. Well, cryptocurrency works too. But we like to thank our executive producers first. Big ol' thank you, big ol' shout out to all of our monthly producers who go in, they sign up for the supply drop, they sign up for a monthly producership. They say, I get it, I want it, I don't want it to go away. And so the more people who go in and say, you know what, $1 a month, $2 a month, $5 a month, $30 a month, whatever value means to you, the easier time we have making it episode to episode. It's been a little rough going episode to episode lately, but thanks to our monthly producers, we're able to get there. But we have executive producers. These are the ones who come in for $100 or more for any individual episode. That's why we thank them big time. You ready to thank the execs, Guns?
Yes, sir.
Okay, starting out, of course, with Sir Alex Protocol, V2 Baron of the Breen Protocol. Coming in for $100, 33 cents. Thank you. He's on a 426 episode streak and an 80 episode executive producer streak.
Thank you, Sir Alex Protocol.
GTE Vob on YouTube says, do we take Lucifer pay? I think that's just the US dollar, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
That's just
Look at the back of the dollar there. I think that's the Lucifer.
Yeah,
point.
Exactly. Next up, we got executive producer Sir Jamie, not the Lannister. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sir Jamie. Appreciate you.
Comes in with his weekly tithe. Appreciate that very much, Sir Jamie. Thank you. We have executive producer Gumbrati.
Gumbrati, thank you. How do you spell that?
It's been a while. Been about a year since Gumbrati's come in. It's Gumbrati or Atti, I believe, and says, thank y'all so much for what y'all do. I hope this helps the ministry save more people like it saved me. I'm always blessed by the Lord, but he has blessed me a little extra lately, and I wanted to make sure I gave my first fruits. Please play Lint Trap. Well, thank you very much, Gumbrati. Appreciate that.
It's on the list. Lint Trap is on the list.
You want to give maybe like 10 seconds of Lint Trap? We're going to put it on the mixtape at the end of the show. Remember, stick around to the end of the stream, folks. We got the Canary Cry mixtape filled with dope tracks from Canarians like you.
Sort of a twisted pleasure that I have. It's okay. No. Clearing out that lint trap. Clearing out that lint trap. Clearing out that lint trap. Clearing out that lint. Clearing out that.
You know, it's funny. The other day, I was doing laundry and I was clearing out the lint trap, and there was a googly eye in the lint trap. I should have taken a picture of it. It was so on brand. Yeah. Thank you very much, Goombrati. Appreciate you seeing you on the list here. Okay, we got some producers who came in under the executive producer amount, and they came in over $7.77, which entitles them to have a note read on the show. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to start out by thanking Dame Maureen.
Thank you, Dame Maureen.
Thank you, Dame Maureen. Dame Maureen comes in with a nice round number. And just so everybody's reminded, if you come and you produce the show for a round number on the 10 or the 5, that's you telling us you prefer we don't disclose the amount. If you don't mind us disclose the amount, you put like 33 cents, 1, 2, 3, 4, 77 cents. Have fun with the number. That's you telling us you don't mind us disclosing, and then we do. Dame Maureen came in with a note that says, I so appreciate your efforts to keep us informed in these very spiritually dark and confusing times. God bless you and all the Canaries. Dame Maureen. Thank you, Dame Maureen.
Thank you, Dame Maureen. Appreciate you.
We have producer Brad Knob came in.
Brad Knob.
Thank you very much. Producer Brad Knob came in for a nice round number. I did not see a note from Brad Knob, but thank you very much.
Appreciate you.
We got producer Julie S came in. Thank you, Julie S.
Thank you, Julie.
Yeah, Julie S came in for a nice round number, and I did not see a note either. I want to double check though, because sometimes Julie sends a note, sometimes she doesn't. Let's see here. Nope. No. Thank you very much, Julie. We also have the American Hobo comes in for 23.32.
American Hobo sneaking in that 33.
Yeah. Now, I sent a note to American Hobo. American Hobo is going to need to get back to me before we make any sudden movements, although the American Hobo is on a 42 episode streak.
42.
Yeah.
My goodness. Okay, hold on. Here we go.
Carry this message to Hiram a bit.
That's right. Carry this message to Harma Biff. Any Masons out there? Thank you very much, the American Hobo. 42 episodes in a row. And the American Hobo sent a note that says, Sir Cullen Anderson, Hobo of the Americas, aka the American Hobo. Now, I checked our page. I did not see Sir Cullen Anderson, Hobo of the Americas, on the list of Knights and Dames, Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames. So I was trying to figure out, I'm assuming that this is the American Hobo giving us their knight name, and this is them saying that they are ready to be knighted. But I did send a confirmation email. American Hobo, go check your email. Let me know. Just answer my questions for me, and we'll make sure to get you knighted. And for those who don't know, we're talking about the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames, which is an honorable society of knights and dames, valorous young and old Canarians who have came in and supported the show for $1,000 or more. This could be all at once, or this could be over many years. But it inevitably happens when you support the show for $1,000 or more. You're given a knight name, a dame name, a protectorate, and given a seat of honor at the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames. And if this is true, if indeed the American Hobo has reached knighthood, I am looking forward to honoring the American Hobo on the show.
Yeah, that'll be great. Looking forward to it.
Thank you very much, the American Hobo. Next up, we got Dustin S.
Dustin S., thank you. Good to see you.
Producer Dustin S. did a couple of things, but let me read producer Dustin S.'s note here. It says, hey guys, been listening for a few years now and am finally able to start producing. You guys have really helped shape my understanding of what's really happening beneath the surface and have opened my family's eyes to predictive programming, antichrist agendas. I thought I was in the alt crowd listening to the Daily Wire heads before being introduced to you by Sir Jacob Highline Haas, Knight of the Issachar Pursuit. But boy, was I naive. I loved this part of the note, you know. Dustin thought he was part of the alt crowd listening to Daily Wire, and that crowd, I know, it's kind of this, things have changed. Maybe there was a point, maybe around 2016 to 2018, Daily Wire was kind of, you know, they were the alt crowd, but quickly became institutionalized. And we're glad to have you here, Dustin S. The note continues. I am much slower to react now and begin my own analysis with a, quote, how would Basil and Gons break this down approach? I'm so grateful for both of you and your ministry. I'm now proudly a supply drop supporter and did another $20 monthly on top. Please demooch me, your brother and fellow warrior in Christ Jesus. Well, there we go. A big day. We do throw a party when a producer, especially one who's been around for years, finally steps up, produces the show, and gets their demooching guns.
You've been
Refreshed.
Big deal.
Like Neo waking up in the goo cell in the Matrix.
You're born again.
You have been demooched.
Demooched.
Did I say moach? Demooched.
Yeah, that's something different. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I'm not supposed to say that yet. That's
demulched. Thank you very much. Newly demooched producer Dustin S. Thank you for the note. Thank you for the monthly producership, both the Canary Cry Supply Drop, and you signed up just in time because signing up for the Supply Drop now is gonna get you the Canary Cry calendar in December. So everybody, go to canarycrysupplydrop.com if you want the show to continue. You'll want to be a producer. You'll want to be part of the family here. Go to canarycrysupplydrop.com. The next supply drop in December is the Canary Cry calendar. It's the best. Everybody is always very sad when they forget or they can't do it. You can't get the calendar. The calendar is a treasure, and you will treasure it always. And it'll make your 2026 make a lot more sense if you've got the Canary Cry calendar, giving you day-by-day breakdown of the historical, the occult, the biblical, the conspiratorial, the governmental anniversaries of almost every day of the year. And, of course, the anniversaries of various turning points, if you will, of the Canary Cryiverse, which is very important. So thank you, Dustin S., for all your support. It means a lot to us.
Yep, thank you.
Of course, we had Cage Rattler Coffee come in, support the show. I should have shouted them out at the top of the show. I need to make a big note at the top, but go to CageRattlerCoffee.com. Look, I get it. You're having trouble. Just go to CageRattlerCoffee.com.
Cage Rattler Coffee, where value for value never tasted so good.
That's right, folks. Look, value for value is a new idea for a lot of people. They're not used to, not being coerced into either having their time, attention, consciousness, or money sort of siphoned off through the emotional manipulation of their news sources, even those who might consider their news sources alternative, like the Daily Wire or something, call themselves alternative or independent, but what are they independent from? Nothing. They take the same advertisement money, they take the same sponsorship money, they have the same exact beast system, economic motivations that any other mainstream news outlet has, and that's why we're on the value for value model here. But if you're having trouble and you just can't quite bring yourself to support value for value, you can go to CageRattlerCoffee.com. You're going to drink the coffee anyway. Stop giving your money to a corporation that hates you and everything that you believe in. Go to Cage Rattler Coffee. It's coffee roasted by Canarians for Canarians, packaged and shipped by Canarians. It supports Canary Cry families and supports the show and it's the best coffee. I recently adopted, well, I guess if my father's listening, this is me telling him, I was storing my father's espresso machine for him, and I just took it and started using it. So now I've got an espresso machine. Thanks, Dad, for the espresso machine. Let me know if you want it back. It's nice and heavy, but I fill that sucker up. It's got like a a grinder thing on it, big, I don't know what you call it, container of beans, I guess, bean bowl, and grinds it all up, straight up espresso style. Put some Cage Rattler coffee through there. Changed my life. Never gonna have
how many a day
again.
How many
Today was about 6. Today was a rough day.
Okay, good. All right, I'm not. All right, because sometimes I get to like 3 or 4 or 5, and I'm like, man, I'm having quite a bit. But then I think like, man, some people are doing like 10, 20. Some people are really getting in there.
The thing with the espresso, it's an Italian espresso machine. And so, a shot of espresso is like
it's a couple drops.
It's a couple drops, right? So, you make a double, you call it one. Okay. It's an American sized espresso. Today was 3. I'll have 2 American sized espressos and I'm good. But yeah, today took an extra one. I've been sleeping weird, waking up weird. It's been a weird time. But probably because of we've had low producers the past few weeks. That's why I'm not sleeping good. Just saying. Thank you very much, Cage Rattler Coffee. Go to cagerattlercoffee.com. Okay, that concludes the list of financial producers who came in and made this show possible. We have our streakers. We have a couple people who came in under $7.77. Usually people come in for that amount if they're keeping streaks going, and I've counted them, I've got them. We'll thank you on Wednesday. I wanted to call the producers real quick, Gons. I don't want to forget.
Producers, assemble!
Apparently Jesse on YouTube said, who made that coffee jingle? He sounds so handsome. Oh, never mind. It was my husband. Okay. Jesse's husband is the handsome sounding man on the Cage Rattler coffee jingle. Love it. Okay. We do have the Canary Cry text message alert system, folks. Get on it. If you're not on it, get on it. You don't want to rely on YouTube.
Wait, what are we calling the producers for? Is it for the text message?
The text message
alert.
Okay.
Aha.
Okay. So take out your phone, text message the word Canary to 877-740-3226. It's on the screen. Do it now. I'm watching. Canary.
Text message the word. What are we? In 1997? Text message the word.
You'll get put on the list. You'll get a notification when we go live. You can text us back at that number. I can't carry on a conversation with you. It's very expensive. But we got a text message from Sir Tristan here. It says, producers, please pray for me. And if you're out there and you're trying to find ways to support the show and you just can't find one, you can at least produce. Spiritual producing the show is very important, especially in the spiritual warfare time as these. So pray for us, pray for the show, pray for Gonza's kids, pray for my cats, and pray today for Sir Tristan. It says, Sir Tristan and wife Katrina, we are going through a very tough time. We need God's protection. Amen. Okay, put it on the list, everybody. We're praying for Sir Tristan and wife Katrina, going through it. We know how it is. These can take so many different forms, but what we do know, no matter what, is that when God's people come together and lift others up in prayer, he hears them and answers the call. So thank you very much for that, everybody. While we're at it, Kat texted in and says, blessings, gents, keeping you in my prayers. Thank you. Gotta hear that. 678 says, love from the ATL community. Bless the mic, brothers. Thank you, ATL community. 661 says, hope this message finds you well, still watching and chatting on Twitch. Thank you for your attention to this matter. We must have one guy.
The one person?
The one guy who goes on Twitch. I got a note here. I'm assuming this is from Sir Ike. Sir Ike says, please send updates to mailing addresses for supply drop. If you are on the supply drop or the t-shirt council and you have moved or need to update your shirt size or your mailing address, email canarycrysupplydrop@gmail.com. Easy peasy. Listen again, canarycrysupplydrop@gmail.com with your updated address, your name, and everything like that. Okay, Gons, how are you doing on time? Do we have anybody else to thank?
I think that's it for now. We did have some audio stuff that came in that we could do now, maybe? I don't know. It depends on the time, I guess, huh?
Well, it's up to you. You're the guy. It's 3:17 right now.
I think I'm okay for a few minutes. This is from Jonathan F. I thought it was a great little clip from, I believe it was a meeting with the Sept, the ADL CEO, Jonathan Greenblatt, and what he said about warfare and digital warfare.
You must take this deadly seriously. Pushing extremists off Wikipedia might not seem equal to the challenge of pushing Hezbollah north of the Litani River. Capturing TikTok might seem less meaningful than holding on to Mount Hermon. Libelous tweets certainly might seem less deadly than missiles from Yemen. But this is urgent because the next war will be decided based on how Israel and its allies perform online as much as offline.
There it is. Very interesting. The digital real estate for your mind share. It's a real thing. And who gets to write those narratives? I think we get to at least be in the battle, Basil, when it comes to some of that stuff. So thank you, Jonathan F. Appreciate you for sending that.
Yeah. Anything else?
I think that's it for right now. I know there's some stuff from a couple weeks ago, but not all of it was very clear to me what was going on with some of that.
Okay. All right.
So
well, we'll go through it together. We'll figure it out. We'll bring it to the show. We'll start a little earlier next time. And remember, folks, you can go to canarycry.art. If you're drawing pictures, graphic artist, if you're a musician, writing songs or jingles, or just finding clips, you can go to canarycry.art. You can upload that art there. We'd love to feature it on the show.
Real quick, just because we did talk about the Trump Maha thing today, apparently he did mention vaccines. So let's do this and then we'll get out of here.
You know, it's artificially induced. It's not like something that when you go from all of those, healthy babies to a point where I don't even know structurally if a country can afford it. And that's the least of the problems. To have families destroyed over this is just so terrible. I also, and we've already done this, we want no mercury in the vaccine. We want no aluminum in the vaccine. The MMR, I think, should be taken separately. This is based on what I feel, the mumps, measles, and all the three should be taken separately. And it seems to be that when you mix them, there could be a problem. So there's no downside in taking them separately. In fact, they think it's better, so let it be separate. The chicken pox is already separate because when that got mixed in, I guess they made it for a while, it really was bad. So they make chicken pox. Individually, they're okay. When you mix them, something maybe happens. So there's no downside in doing it. It's not like, oh, if you do it, bad things. No, it's only good side. And it may not have that much of an impact, but it may have a big impact. So let those be taken separately. And then hepatitis B is sexually transmitted. There's no reason to give a baby that's almost just born hepatitis B. So I would say wait till the baby is 12 years old and formed and take hepatitis B. And I think if you do those things, it's going to be a whole different, it's going to be a revolution in a positive sense in the country.
Okay. That's very interesting.
He tries to get into the details as much as he can there, but
That's the Dr. Trump is trending right now. So that's he sounds like my doctor giving me advice on what to do and how to do it.
There you go. Well, it sounds similar to any doctor trying to tell you to take the vaccine. So it's good.
Right.
It's
That's what I'm
good.
saying. It's just
Good,
some
yeah.
logic to move around. I mean, hey,
get
take the mercury and the aluminum out of it. I mean, I'm sure that's a positive.
That's actually quite a moderate stance. I think that's
Yeah.
kind of a basic moderate stance. The problems that have been identified, even by the most crazy radical anti-vaxxers, are the adjuvants, and it's the chemicals that specifically irritate your immune system. The aluminum and the mercury have served no purpose but to irritate your body into reacting. Just find another way. I believe in you, science. You can find a way to figure it out without poisoning people. I'm having faith that it's possible. But until then, it's Dr. Trump, baby. Let's go. All right. Well, thank you to all of our producers, especially our producers. We like to call them timestampers.
Timestamp. It's hard work. Timestamp.
Morgan E., thank you very much for doing the timestamps for episode number 877.
Thank you very much, Morgan E. And of course, thanks to Jam, who heads up the Telegram channel. Thank you to Adam42, heads up the Discord. If you are a Telegram or a Discord person, you want to get in touch, get in community with other Canarians. They know what's going on. You know what's going on. Come on, let's go. You can go to canarycry.party. You'll find the links for Telegram and Discord there. Of course, thank you to Joe for the feedback. Thank you to Clank for clanking. Thank you, Sir Ike, for everything you do. And remember, if you're in or around Rolla, Missouri on September 27th at 1:11 p.m. at Alex's Pizza in Rolla, go to the meetup. There's going to be a bunch of great Canarians there. You're going to want to be there. Get connected. Missouri has a great collection of Canarians, active Canarians too. So if you can make it to Rolla, I believe in you. You can do it. Go to the meetup September 27th, 1:11 p.m., Alex's Pizza. And no matter where you are in the world, you can put on a meetup yourself. Pick a time, pick a place. Just email us at canarycryradio@gmail.com. We will tell the world and you will meet other Canarians near you. But before you go through all that rigmarole, just make sure to share the show, okay? Just share it. Share it on your social media. Share it with your friends. Share it with your meetup people. Anybody at the meetup never heard of Canary Cry, you're going to need to share the show with them. This is very important. This is how things work around here, folks. So share the show. You're being called. You're being called to share the show. So just do it. Come on, let's go. Hit the like button, hit the share button, do all the things. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. We like to call it rattling cages, and all you got to do is walk right up to him, grab him by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages.
Hey, stop that!
You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy.
Leave the bird alone!
Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
Human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Guns, you got any last words?
Yeah, so tomorrow is going to be the 33rd anniversary of the last underground nuclear test at Nevada test site, and the world will never be the same after tomorrow, Basil.
What's tomorrow?
Oh, you'll know. You'll know Wednesday.
Okay, sounds good. All right, there you go, everybody. Make sure to go to canarycrysupplydrop.com. Sign up, and you'll get the Canary Cry calendar in December. Don't miss out. Don't be sad. Just win. Just support the show. That's what we do around here. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.
This is the United States of America, for God's sake. Toilets! Toilets! Do not come back, you Nazi psychopaths! Give me a break.
gonna die.
I love the Great Reset.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
Can I tell you a sort of a twisted pleasure that I have? It's okay. Clearing out that lint trap. Clearing out that lint trap. Clearing out that lint trap. Clearing out that lint. Clearing out that lint trap. Clearing out that lint trap. Clearing out that lint trap.
It takes time. Oh, a lint catcher.
I love it, man.
Hey, you gotta clean this out. I was like, oh, a lint catcher. It's a great reset. Oh, a lint catcher.
I love it, man.
Hey, you gotta clean this out. Oh, a lint catcher.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
I love peeling off that big old lint trap, rolling it into a ball, peeling off that big old lint trap. It's just like throwing it in the trash, really. Should I be saving this?
No.
You could knit it into a scarf or something?
No.
Surely. It's very soft.
No.
This would make really good fire starter. You are a weird prepper. Hoarder. Like a weird guy, man. Weird prepper. Not normal, like a weird guy, man. Clearing out that lint trap.
No.
Clearing out that lint trap. Clearing out that lint trap. That lint trap. I know it's gross, folks.
A lint catcher.
I love it, man.
Hey, you gotta clean this out. I was like, a lint catcher. It's a great reset. A lint catcher.
I love it, man.
Hey, you gotta clean this out. A lint catcher.
I love it. I'm constantly having to remind myself, wear a pink shirt for the show. Constantly having to remind myself, save the dryer lint, use it as fire starter, knit a scarf, save the dryer lint. Don't even get me started on bidets, man. Bidets, man. Bidets, man. I'm telling you, you were living the life, man. Bidets, man.
We will hunt you down and make you pay.
Guns, man, you know what's going on. Guns. Canary Crime News Talk, man, what's going on? Gotta turn it on, shows coming on live. VPN on when I'm going online. Anonymity, man, cryptocurrency. We got everything you need, get it 3 times a week. Jesus Christ the King, let the Holy Spirit speak. Battle in the cage, gotta set the captive free. Value for value, to me it's not free. Wish I had a longer streak, but this creativity. Go fulfill the 3 T's, that's the time, treasure talent. Give it right back, put it right back in balance. Not right or left, we not with the distractions. Catastrophes are the classic techniques, all attacks of the enemy. Getting defeated, underneath the feet of Jesus. Just believe us, media is trying to deceive ya. Gotta read between the lines till you see through the disguise. It's a slit reptilian eye sitting on top of the pyramid. Got a myriad of topics, might be on a watch list. R.I.P. face like the sun, but you cannot stop this. Like the Lord's gonna come stop this beast system and this infinite wisdom. Yeah, when the time is right, yeah, we're gonna take flight like a thief in the night. So I gotta get it right. I gotta repent and sit patient. Waiting for supply drop. Google eyes don't blink, man. I need some eye drops. Google mind deep thinking for the AI thoughts. Yeah, Basil, guns. You know what's going on. Basil, guns. Never Crime News Talk, man, what's going on. Basil, guns. And you know what's going on. Basil. Never Crime News Talk, man, what's going on.
Circle back, but I'll have to circle back. Circle back, but I'll have to circle back. Circle back, but I'll have to circle back. I'm happy to circle back. I'll have to just circle back with you. We can circle back on that one. Circle back with you. It's an interesting question, but we'll circle back.
Let's invite some dudes over and fellowship tonight.
Value for value. We take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.
Canary cry.